The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development, with a platform and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives. At The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co. Sara Davison. Sara Davison is best known as a divorce coach, and she's created a revolutionary new ways to cope with breakups and divorce. She has combined her coaching skills with her own personal divorce experience to create a unique program to help anyone battling a breakup. Sara is the best-selling author of Uncoupling, How to Survive and Thrive After Breakup and Divorce, and she's a media commentator around the world on this topic. An NLP master practitioner with 20 years coaching experience, Sara has successfully built and developed a global business and has worked with some of the top names in personal development, such as Tony Robbins, Paul McKenna, Barefoot Doctor, and many, many more. Well, I've known Sara for a long time. She's a friend, and I've seen her go through everything, really, through her divorce, how she's built herself up, how she's created this amazing program, and how she's helping now people all over the world. Sara spoke at pretty much all the expos, all the Best You expos. You'll be able to see any of her talks in any of the programs on the Best You Expo, all over the place. So she spoke with us at the event. She's an inspiring speaker. She's very, very good at what she does. And the reason I wanted to interview her was because there's not a lot of people that really specialize in this. It's a big thing. You know, there's a lot of people all over the world struggling with divorce breakups. And what she's doing and how she's helping people through her training programs is so unique and so special that I'm sure you're going to love and admire all the work that she's done. So I hope it helps. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy it. Hi, I'm Bernardo Moya and welcome to Inspiring People. Today, I've got the great pleasure of interviewing Sara Davison. She is the expert. She is the divorce and breakup coach. She also is the author of the best-selling book, Uncoupling. Sara.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Brilliant. Tell me a little bit about you. Where were you born? What was your early years like?
My early years. Well, I was born in Aylesbury and brought up in Hertfordshire. My mum and dad, and I have a younger brother. Great fun. Very happy family. Still very close. Grew up enjoying being outdoors, and I was always very good, though. I was very good at school, followed the rules.
I bet you were. Yeah, good student, yeah.
I was a good student, yeah. I mean, I was never top of the class. I was never particularly popular. I was sort of average. It was interesting, actually, though. I believe that when you go to school and you're taught to conform. And one of the things I did when I left was I went on a seminar by Anthony Robbins, and it completely took the blinkers off me. I heard him saying, you can do what you want, you can be what you want in life, you can create your own opportunities. But I'd been conditioned in this very strict all-girls school to believe that actually I had to go and get a proper job, which was, if you went to the careers teacher at the time, an accountant, a teacher. Yeah, there wasn't anything creative like a life coach or...
But was there any subjects in particular that you enjoyed?
Tended towards the more creative subject, the more artistic ones. I was big into languages. I specialised. I liked art. Wasn't particularly good at it, but I liked the languages because I love travel. So I think that was really where my passion for that came from.
Any good teachers? Anyone that helped you, particularly inspired you?
When I was younger, there was Dave Baldwin, his name was, and he was just a really good people person. And I look back now and I see why I liked him. He was great. He made us laugh. We really enjoyed his subjects, whereas the rest of the teachers are very strict. And I don't learn well. And I didn't recognise this. I wasn't conscious of it at school, but I don't learn well when I'm having to do something, forced to sit there, forced to listen. And when there's that fear factor of you'll be punished if you do something wrong, I'm much more a moving towards person. So I'll do something for a reward or for pleasure rather than to avoid pain. So I think looking back on my time at school, I wasn't particularly happy in my school life because I felt afraid a lot of the time with the rules and the restrictions around me. And I didn't really feel like I fitted in. I wasn't particularly good at anything in particular.
Did you know what you wanted to do when you grew up?
Well, I was confused because I thought I had to go and work for a blue chip company or be a teacher or an accountant. And I, in my heart, wasn't into that. And so I suppose I was trying to fit in. And my dream when I was at school was to be a national account manager for Coca-Cola.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And actually, one of my first jobs out of university was working for Coca-Cola. And I realised that I was such a small cog in a big wheel and none of my ideas were taken up that I found it really frustrating. I didn't really enjoy it. So, yeah.
So what was next after you finished school?
Well, I went on this Anthony Robbins seminar and I realised that I could actually do what I wanted to do.
How old were you then? Sorry.
22.
22. Okay, great.
Yeah. So I left the seminar having got myself a decent job at Coca-Cola and I was doing okay. And I think finally my mum and dad have thought, right, Sara's set up. She's got a job and I got myself a mortgage and I was up and running. And then I went on the Anthony Robbins seminar and I remember coming back and sitting my parents down and saying, right, I'm going to jack in the job and I'm going to set up my own business. And I remember them sort of looking at me and say, great, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm not quite sure yet, but I know it's going to be in personal development because I love it and it's important to do something that I love. And something around sales, marketing, I don't know. So they were very supportive. Dad's always been an entrepreneur. He's never worked for anyone else, actually. He's always had his own company. So they were very supportive. And quite quickly I came up with the idea of flying motivational speakers from the States over to the UK and putting on events. So at the age of 23, I set up an office in North Finchley, just down the road from where I was living. And I had 8 staff. And we started to fly a motivational speaker called Chris Manning, who was big in the stock market, how to make money trading the stock market, over from the States. And we put on big events. And that was back in the day where you could put one advert in the newspaper, you'd get 400 or 500 calls. People would turn up to the events. So it was a very different market. As you know, it's very tough these days to fill a room. So back then, it was sort of the crest of the wave stuff. No one was really doing anything apart from Paul McKenna, who's awesome at what he does. And he was doing seminars. And then Anthony Robbins would come over from the States and do a few seminars, maybe once or twice a year. But that was it. So it was very new to the UK, personal development. No one has really heard of self-help. So, yeah, I really helped to establish that over here and put it on the map.
Well, that was quite ballsy, wasn't it?
It was fun. It was definitely fun. And I loved it. And I found something that I actually was quite good at. You know, I was good at selling tickets and I was good at being the promoter. You know, I loved looking after my speakers and, you know, helping them create the brand in the UK and just getting out there and networking. And because I was so young, I think a lot of people in the industry were a lot older than me and predominantly male, especially when I was selling the stock market seminars. So I stood out a bit in the crowd and people would sort of say, well, who's that, you know, young girl over there? Like, what's she doing? And I get my speakers on the television and, you know, speaking at exhibitions just because I was different and people noticed. So, yeah, it was great fun.
I don't know, there's something quite addictive about putting seminars together, isn't there? Obviously, it depends who you're putting on stage because, you know, it does help to have some big names. But you know, the whole idea of conceiving, thinking of putting an event together and all the necessary steps. And then when it's actually happened and everyone's in the room and you feel great.
I know, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, and the business model behind it, you know, and making sure that all flows seamlessly. Because as you know, when you put on a big event, there's so much going on that nobody, you know, the delegates just don't realise. Yeah. So for it to go well is a big achievement. So, yeah.
So what happened next?
So after that, I trained with all my speakers. I was lucky enough to be working with some incredible people, including Paul McKenna and Richard Bandler. I trained with them and I got my NLP qualifications and my hypnosis qualifications. And really, I was into self-help. I read every book, went on every seminar going. I went around the world, did all the Anthony Robbins events. I think I've done some of his seminars. The Unleash the Power Within, I think I've done it 14 times though.
14.
I mean, sometimes as crew or there as an advisor, but I did a lot of them. So I absorbed all the information and I set up my own coaching practice as well. So I had my own coaching clients from just based on what I'd learned and the qualifications I got over the years working with these amazing people. So that grew. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I love making a difference and I love helping people and I love helping them get clarity on their situation so they can make better decisions. So yeah, it was really rewarding. And finally I'd found something that I was actually good at, something that I could actually manifest a positive change in people's lives. So yeah, I loved it. It was great fun.
You set up a business with your ex-husband and you were running seminars.
Yeah, I met my ex-husband who wanted to be a motivational speaker. He was already started out in the industry with good potential. So we got together and grew a business together, and it was really successful. He was the face of the business and on stage talking, and I was sort of behind the scenes running the promotions, the events, those kind of things, And we set up an office in Australia and we had an office in London as well. And it was great. We had 150 staff, I think. At the end when I left, there were 150 staff, 2 different offices. We were doing well, and it was helping a lot of people, so which was nice.
What I find amazing about you is obviously kind of like, when you semi-retired. I'm saying as a seminar promoter as such, as a marketer. How old were you?
Well, when I retired from doing the
seminars and events,
I suppose. Well, I'm still in them to an extent.
I know you are now, but with that role you had then,
33, I suppose, something like that. 34. Yeah.
So pretty impressive run from when you started to the age of 33, I've got to say.
But like you say, it's addictive and it's a real buzz. And when you find something you love doing, it doesn't seem like work. I think this industry, the personal development, self-help world, it's very much a lifestyle. I believe to be truly successful, you've got to walk your talk, and I think that's really important. But you've got to enjoy it so much that it's not work. If I get a client that phones me at midnight, I'm happy to talk to them, because I love what I'm doing. It doesn't feel like work. It's not like a clock off at 5. It's just who I am.
You in particular started a lot earlier. I came across Paul McKenna's book, Change Your Life in 7 Days, in my mid-30s. Probably even my late 30s. And I came into the business quite late in comparison to you. When you already retired, I just started. But the good thing and the beautiful thing about this business is that, it's never too late. You can start any time. Yeah. But obviously you've got massive experience. If you're interested in working with me, contributing to the magazine, maybe speaking at any of our many events around the world, partnering or licensing The Best You, go to www.thebestyou.co. Is there or was there a moment, a turning point in your life that, put you on the path of what you want to do now? Was that it? Was that the Tony Robbins training?
Yeah, I remember my mum and dad came back from a seminar. My dad worked a lot in the States. He had a lot of clients in the States. And one of them had asked him to go on this seminar with them by Anthony Robbins. So my dad had gone and he'd taken my mum with him. And they were very sceptical about it. But my dad, he was into sales and he's he's a great people person. So he was up for trying it and took my mum. And they came back and it was like a whole new thing. They were on a different level of energy. The whole outlook on life had changed. Always very positive, but this was coming from the heart. They were driven, they were dynamic. Suddenly this whole new lease of life. And my dad, I remember him saying to me and my brother, who's only 18 months younger than me, he said, look, I thought I'd finished paying for your education and, thought you were done with the university, but actually, there's one more gift, I think, as a parent I have to give you, and that's the gift to go and see Anthony Robbins. And at that time, he was doing a seminar in Brussels, and it was a relatively small audience for him then because, he wasn't who he is. He didn't have the following then that he has now. So my brother and I went on a plane to Brussels, not knowing what to expect at all. Never read a self-help book in my life, never done any personal development. Arrived in Brussels with my brother, walked in and this giant gets on stage and beating his chest and jumping up and down and there's music and there's dancers on stage. And at first I was a bit like, wow, what is this? And I think you can go one of two ways. For me, I loved it, and I thought, wow, this is for me. My brother was a bit more skeptical of it, but I loved it. And I felt like someone had taken the blinkers off me. I felt that finally, after years of being conditioned to believe that you should do this or you should do that and operating more from fear and, what I thought I should be doing, suddenly it was up to me. It was almost like I learned that I could take control back of my life and decide what I wanted to do and actually be true to me and not pretend to be someone else or, I could be comfortable. And I think that's really made a huge change in my life. So I started asking better questions, and that was the turning point. I started asking, okay, well, what could I do? What could I do with my skill set? I'm not particularly brilliant at anything. I never excelled at school, was never particularly popular at school. But what could I do that would, it would generate an income that I would enjoy? So combining those two things. And personal development, self-help was the thing that I loved. I mean, I was addicted then from seeing Tony on stage just that one time. That was me hooked. And then I asked the question, and in the end, I thought, well, I could work with motivational speakers, and I'm okay at sales. I could, maybe put on an event. Having never run an event in my life, my first event had 400 people in it. So, yeah, it was a steep learning curve. And I learned with my own money. I lost my own money and made my own money through my own mistakes. And I think when it's your own money on the line, as you know, you learn pretty quick.
You do.
You don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah. When you started NLP training, so I know you've done stuff with Paul. So tell me about what does NLP mean for you and all the training you've done in NLP, because I know it's a very important part of who you are today.
Yeah, it's huge. Well, I'm a total NLP geek. I'm a nerd for it. I love it. Because I've seen the difference it's made in my life and other people around me. But, for me, it's really transformed my life. Just being able to manage your emotional state and be able to ask better questions. I mean, it's simple techniques, but it's things that can really help you sail through life rather than struggle. And just, difficult times happen to everybody, but it's what you do about it that counts. That defines you as a person. It's not what happens. It's not what happens that knocks you down. It's do you get back up, and how do you get back up? And when do you get back up? How quickly do you bounce back from things? So NLP to me has given me the tools and like a toolkit for life, the manual to my brain. For me, it's helped me, but it's also enabled me to help, my son. He's had some challenges at times, and I've been able to help him. This, NLP works for kids too. And I think if we can get it to kids at a young age, so they learn to do it unconsciously, they're not having to think about it. It's just such a powerful tool. It really is.
So we'll rewind back again. Well, you did your NLP training, and then you divorced your husband.
Yeah.
Now, that was a completely new chapter in your life.
Yeah.
Change, challenges. Now, how would you define what you do?
Well, I help people to cope better with both the emotional roller coaster that you go through after a breakup and also the practical challenges that you face. So, dealing with the negative emotions, maybe the fear, the overwhelm, the confusion, the guilt, dealing with betrayal, but also the practical challenges that you're suddenly thrown into after a breakup, suddenly becoming single, maybe becoming a single parent, conflict with your ex, dealing with lawyers, financial advisors, having to make lifelong decisions that are going to affect the rest of your life whilst you're in a state of complete emotional overwhelm. Probably your confidence is at its lowest ebb, your self-esteem is gone, your sense of self-worth is sort of ebbed away over time. So, it's quite a challenging time. And what I found when I went through my breakup was that even though I've been in this industry for such a long time, I still struggled to control my emotional state. I still struggled. I felt completely lost. It took the floor out from underneath me. And I thought, wow, I'm struggling, and yet I'm trained in how to manage difficult situations. So, how do other people cope? And I went online to try and, get some help, get some advice. And I really couldn't find anything constructive. There wasn't anything specific to help you through a breakup. There was maybe, there's therapy and there's general coaching, but there was nothing really specific to the situations that I found myself in. Like, how do you cope when you have to hand your baby over to your ex and their new partner for the weekend? That's so painful to do, especially at the beginning when it's all new. So, how do you cope? And there weren't any specific strategies, but having been a coach for many years at this point, I realised that, I knew in my heart there were things I could do to make myself feel better and to cope better. But it's so hard to coach yourself really in those situations. But what I did was I put together different techniques, different strategies, combining my personal really tough divorce experience with my years of coaching and my NLP and the hypnosis that I learned from all different people and some of the sort of softer skills that I learned from people like the Barefoot Doctor, combining all sorts of different therapies and, people's work that I really admired over the years to see what worked and what didn't work. And it was surprising, actually, but my lawyer started referring me her clients, and then the therapist that I'd worked with for a little bit, she started referring me her clients. And soon the media got really interested in what I was doing, because I was really one of the only people doing it in the UK. And it really grew. And so I realised that there was a real need for this, and there's a lot of people going through it on a daily basis. Especially in the UK, there's such a stigma around breakups, divorce, you don't talk about it. So I just decided that I was going to, help people do that, and set up a niche coaching business just to specialise in helping people through divorce and breakup, and get their lives back on track, boost their confidence. And, there are specific things you can do just to take the edge off and help you cope better.
Because as you said, there's so many different things that happen when you're going through a divorce, and it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And obviously, especially when you've got kids, because if you haven't got kids, I suppose you can walk away. You don't actually have to engage with your ex once it's signed off.
Yeah. But there's still the heartbreak, and you still go through the roller coaster.
Absolutely.
But kids do make it a lot harder, especially if there's conflict.
Yeah, because you have to still be in touch with your ex if there's a custody.
Yeah.
I was reading recently that actually the number of divorces are down because it looks like people are living together before they actually get married.
Yeah.
But, even those people that don't necessarily get married, they still go through a breakup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I see actually are coming out of long-term relationships that are breakups. And sometimes, if they haven't been married, their situation can be just as difficult, because there's still legal issues to work out. You might be living together in the same house. So there's, legal issues that are over, who gets what. And I don't give legal advice, but the emotional journey you go through having to be thrown into this legal world again is difficult. So, I deal with same-sex marriages breaking down, or same-sex relationships breaking down. I deal with, a breakup. I've had a client recently who was only in a 2-month relationship, but it absolutely devastated her to the point that she couldn't function afterwards, and it was really affecting her work and her family. So, it's all different types of people, and breakups affect everybody differently.
Absolutely. I was going to say that. If you're interested in watching the video content of this interview and many others, or interested in learning from world leaders and teachers, go to www.thebestyou.online. What about kids? I mean, obviously, I suppose you help parents as well, giving them advice on how they can help their kids go through this, because it's obviously difficult and challenging for them too.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you've got kids, you've got to really get your priorities straight, and you've got to think about how your actions are impacting the children, and what impact it's going to have on them for the rest of their life. I am a big believer, though, that divorce and breakups don't have to damage kids, but it very much depends on how the parents act. And there are certain things that you should avoid doing, and certain things that you must do when you're going through a breakup to protect your kids and to give them the best chance. So I do a lot of work with parents to help them empower their kids with the tools to help their kids themselves. So I think that increases the bond between them, and it helps I think when you're going through a breakup, it's about you becoming the role model for your kids and showing them that actually, life doesn't always work out with that fairy tale ending that you want, and tough times happen, and it's what you do about it in that moment. So if you can actually teach your children how to deal with difficult situations, so they see you acting, doing the right thing at all times and coping, even though they'll see you upset, they'll see you pick yourself back up and carry on. That's going to be inspiring for a kid, and you can actually become their role model and give them the gift. Sometimes it's quite early on in life, but, it's still a good lesson to learn, how to cope when things don't work out as you want. Do you fall apart? Well, they'll remember, well, actually, mum didn't, dad didn't. They picked themselves up. Yes, it was tough, but this is what they did to get their lives back on track. Then they've got the blueprint for themselves. When tough times happen, yes, they do happen, but this is what you do to cope. So actually, it can be a gift to give to your kid if you handle it in the right way.
If you handle it the right way.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe that there's a lot of couples that live together for a long time and then they're very happy.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, there are a lot of couples that live together and they're very unhappy.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing one of your quotes on Instagram where you were talking about, if you're not happy in a happy marriage. What's your thoughts regarding that? Especially if you're fighting and it's kind of like...
Yeah, when they've got children. Well, the thing is, I think kids are much more resilient than sometimes we give them credit for, because we're putting our own issues on top of them. And, as long as you give them the right tools, they'll be okay. If they see you being okay, then they'll be okay. Living in an environment with parents that are arguing all the time can sometimes give them the wrong message. And you've got to look at, as their role model, what are you teaching them? that love and marriage equals arguing or, sleeping in separate rooms or, being disrespectful to each other on a regular basis. If you're not providing that ideal model for them or something that's, healthy, then maybe you're teaching them a lesson that you don't really want them to learn. So, sticking it out for the kids. I think if you ask most kids when they're older, I think there have been surveys done on adults whose parents waited to split up until they left home, and they said, no, I wish they'd split up. I didn't want them staying together for me. That's made me feel guilty now. Mum's now not going to meet anyone else. She's, because of me. And that's a lot for a child to deal with. And actually, you know what, you can create a really good benefit to breaking up. Kids can get 2 Christmases, they can get 2 birthdays, especially at a young age. That's a big bonus for kids,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely love it. 2 birthday parties, all sorts of great perks.
Exactly.
With your book, Uncoupling, which has done really well.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about it and who is it aimed for? Because, I think it's obviously, you've been working on it for a long time, haven't you?
Yeah, been working on it for, probably about 3-4 years. And it's really aimed as the guide to go to if you're going through any kind of breakup. So if you're thinking, should I stay, should I go? If you're in the middle of it, especially if there's lots of conflict or there's been any kind of emotional abuse and your confidence is low, you're just not sure what to do or how to rebuild your life again. In fact, I've got people reading it actually who've contacted me and said, look, I've been divorced for 10 years. Having read your book, now finally I feel like I can move on. I was kind of stuck and your book helped me get unstuck. So yeah, it's great. And actually they've just bought the rights to it in China as well. So it's going to be out in the Chinese market, which is exciting too.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a few Chinese people, isn't there?
There's a few of them.
Yeah. What would you say your best assets are?
I think I'm a good listener, and I think that helps when you're coaching. I think one of the skills that has helped me be successful in the coaching world is being able to read people. So to be able to work out quite quickly where they're at and how they're, what they're saying is in tune with actually their body language and what they truly mean, so that I can really help them. So I think probably that's one of my assets that really helps with my coaching. Okay.
Give me some more.
I've got a naturally positive outlook on life. So naturally, my brain will try and look for the positive and look for other options. So I think that helps as well. I'd like to think I'm a really good mum. I love my son more than anything. So being with him just lights me up, and I'm quite good at getting quality time with him. And that's one of my most precious things that I can do in my time. So yeah, getting that balance is important to me. So I strive hard to, as a single parent, get quality time with him, which I love. So
great. Kids coming out of university or someone that's been made redundant, still trying to find a meaning, attends a seminar, thinks I want to do something different.
Yeah.
What do you think the best assets are that people can have? What do they need? What do you need to succeed nowadays in life?
Well, you need an open mind. So, just because you think things are a certain way or you've been told things are a certain way, I would always question that, because it doesn't always mean that that's the right way. I think you've got to work out pretty quickly what it is that you want and what drives you, because to be truly successful in life, I think you've got to be passionate about what you're doing. You've got to want to jump out of bed in the morning to do it, and you don't mind taking that phone call in the middle of the night. I think it's got to come from the heart. And just enjoying what you do, being passionate and good with people, I think is a great skill. I know a lot of people put a lot of pressure on children these days to get the top grades and be top achievers and do well. And I think education is a very important part of helping you get a foundation for your career. But actually, I think there's not enough weight given to people skills and understanding people and being able to work and communicate with people, and understanding that, you have to take responsibility for the message that you're giving. And if people aren't understanding you, then that's your responsibility. So always striving to improve and work well with other people.
No, that's a great advice, because it's true that there's so many people that don't actually understand the importance of being able to communicate, engage, be social.
I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without a great team and great people around me, and I'm fortunate to work with some amazing people who've supported me and encouraged me. You can't do it on your own. You need other people, and it's about working together and helping each other and helping each other grow as people. And that's where you get the good teamwork and the good synergy. And then suddenly, wow, things take off. But you can't really do that if you're working with people you don't really get on with, or you don't click with. So I think it's really important to surround yourself with people that you want to be with.
We run seminars, we run all sorts of events, and I've attended many seminars, and I know hundreds and thousands of people that attend all sorts of seminars. Where I'm coming from is the fact that I think a lot of people do that, but they don't necessarily take action.
Yeah.
They don't take action.
Yeah.
They carry on doing exactly the same things. They feel good for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and then they carry on in their old ways. I believe that now, because of the era we live in, internet, our phones, devices, and how we can communicate, there's a responsibility for people to take action, either personally, but also, hopefully globally.
Yeah.
There's less empathy in the world. What's your thoughts regarding that?
I think you're spot on. I think you can go and learn the information, but it's what you do with it that counts. And I've seen thousands of people come through seminars, and just watching the audiences at some of these events, some people are there and they're there to listen, and then they go back to their lives. I always think about it as my first Robin seminar. I went on it, and there were some people that came away and maybe used the toolkit, maybe got out a screwdriver and hung up a picture. Whereas I got out the pneumatic drill, and I was like, I'm redesigning my entire life with this stuff. It's awesome. You do have to take action. And I think that's something that I build into the retreats that I do, because when I do a 2-day retreat called the Breakup Recovery Retreat, where I take people out of their everyday life and immerse them in a 2-day workshop with me. But how I get them to take action is during those 2 days, we're constantly writing down an action plan for them. So it's a separate booklet that they get alongside their manual, where every time they come up with an idea, or they get a piece of information they think is really significant to them, or an action or something they need to follow up on when they leave, they write it down in this book. So by the time they leave, they've got a planner of things they need to do and a date of when they need to do them by, because then when they leave, they've got that to give them the momentum. I think a lot of times you leave an event and you're on a high, but you haven't quite yet figured out how to take this forward or how it applies to you. So with all my coaching and my retreats, everything, even in my book, there's an action plan where you have to follow through. You have to write down your ideas, so that when you leave, you've still got that momentum. You're not reliant on me or the speaker to push you. You've got it there already.
Absolutely. You have to take responsibility.
Yeah.
So what's next?
What's next? Well, next year I'm launching my divorce coach training program, which will be exciting.
Right.
I'm doing a lot more speaking next year. Actually, I'm speaking at quite a few events, and some of yours, which I'm excited about. It would be great. And yeah, I'm open to new projects at the moment. I've got a few things bubbling away, and we're just waiting to see what happens. It's exciting. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Well, one of the things I say about you, and I say that to you and to other people, is that obviously you're a pro. You're an absolute professional. Everything you do, your webpage, your products, your books, your courses, you're congruent. And that's half the battle. A lot of the people that I see in this industry are just, recycling other people's content and necessarily have got no meat in them and aren't really doing a service. So you are. So well done.
Darling.
Congratulations.
Appreciate that.
And I'm sure you're going to turn this whole divorce world upside down around the world, starting with China. Yes?
Starting with China. Let's hope so.
Yeah, perfect. Listen, many years from now, what would you like your legacy to be?
She made a difference, I think. I think what I'm doing, there's nobody really doing it, and the information that I'm creating, some of my techniques are new, so to actually to leave that, especially my book, to say, look, her techniques work, made a difference, help people, that's making a difference. That's important to me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching Inspiring People. Thank you. Thank you, Sara.
Thanks, man.
For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co.